so we're yeah, because today we're going to talk about these little bags and go through the steps to make them. Okay, so I know everybody's tired. You have your thinking brain on. Please pay attention. So I'm going to start out with telling you that Terry gave me this pattern as a suggestion for what to do. Well, so I made some of them, and they're just fun and they're just cute. But I cannot use a commercial pattern and hand it out. So I had to look for something that would be free. So it's a modem pattern that was put out this last summer, I believe, to advertise a line of fabric that's like a seaside type fabric, but you can use anything. So of course that's what I did. But what I did for these 3 bags and this one and the can't see this one because it's still inside out, and this one it's kind of pink inside. I bought a charm pack, just the 5-inch squares, and then I bought 2 pieces of fabric, one red and one blue to finish these bags off, and then 1 yard of fabric for my lining. And so that made 5 bags. So it really is pretty economical that way. So even though these look all different, they all came from the same charm pack. I just divided them out into colorways. So this one, I don't know, it kind of has some pink in it. This one, that's the leftover whites that I didn't really care for bag too much, but
Let me get you to move into the center.
okay.
Okay.
All right. Sorry.
It's just
I don't want to be on that.
everybody's.
So the first thing I'm going to talk about, this one has 40 pieces on it, 42.5-inch squares. Then the others, you can see there's fewer. It's a 3 by 8. So you do the math there, and then just the little bit of squares here. And this is my favorite one because it's the easiest one to put your colors together. Yeah, that's what these all are too, as the same pattern. And my favorite one, of course. So to start out, you need to pick out your colors, your 2.5-inch squares, and you're going to place them out 5 by 8. So, and that's for the first view. And when you do that, you need to be aware of a couple things that I discovered right off. First of all, you want your fabric it's going to fold like this. So when you have your pieces together, for myself, I don't want like 2 of the scissors to be right across from each other. So I'm thinking the whole time that I'm laying this out, okay, where's this piece? It's going to match up with this piece. This one is the second, back and forth. So I don't want to have the same thing matching. Then the other thing is when I'm laying it out, it's going to fold in half, and these edges are going to match this way and this way. So then I'm thinking, okay, this one and this one, this one and this one, are they going to lay out so that they look okay? Okay. The other thing is if you have a piece that you want to focus, which I really don't on these so much, then don't put it in your corners because you're going to trim that corner off. This is one that's trimmed off. So it's a 1 1/4 inch square that's going to come out of here, which is pretty well going to wipe out that piece on the corner. That's not going to show a whole lot. Makes sense what you're doing? Okay, so to mark this, just take 1 1/4 inch and your water erasable marker or some kind of a marker, even a permanent pen would work on the inside, it's not gonna hurt you. And then with sharp scissors, just cut those out.
What's on the inside of your two pieces?
Okay, the batting. They say to use a thin batting, and so I thought, well, what's the batting? Delene Fabrics, the pillow band. It's just a lightweight interfacing type stuff. And this one has the little, it's fusible on one side. They do have fusible on both sides for a little bit more money, but what my experience has been, the pattern also says to have this sticky side glued onto your front side, but I don't do that. I go on the back because I've never had any fusible interface with that kind of pucker up. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or there's something wrong. But anyway, so I've always had trouble with that. So I ironed this onto the back side, and then I use a spray adhesive. I just have some, it's water soluble. To spray that top layer down and make sure it's all in place. And if I have to put a few pins in and whatever. But before I do that, if I'm gonna, like this is cross hatch, then I've got to mark all that beforehand, and then when the 3 layers are together, then I've got to do my cross hatching. So, but then I got lazy or smart and decided after doing cross hatching on all of these, I thought, I'm going to do it so I don't have to mark anything. So on this one, I've just gone in the ditch and I go the same way. A lot of times they'll say, well, if you're piecing fabric so in long strips, sew it one way and the other way so it'll all lay flat. Well, that doesn't work so good on this because it will kind of shift on you. So if you start at the top, continue from the top to the bottom. Then I did this side. It's the same way, top to bottom, and then it lays pretty flat. So to mark this one, okay, so on this one, I stitched down the centers, and then I just used my foot, the side of my foot on my sewing machine, stitched both sides to make a quilting pattern. Then when I get to my edge, I've got to remember, I have a 1/4 inch sleeve here. So on this one, I've basted 1/4 inch, so I know that's my seam allowance. And that basting, when I do my regular stitch, if it's not all, I can take it out. Then I can do that, line the side of my foot up to that 1/4 inch and sew down, and that gives me the same distance from, these are easy to make the distance from. This one, you need a guide. You need the 1/4 inch, your seam allowance taken out, and then stitch your foot. Is that? And then the other thing to do is I just zigzag my edges, or you could use a serger, some of the needles, take one of the needles out so that it's narrow. Because you're going to want these inside edges are raw. You want them to hang together. After a while, after doing enough of these, I decided on all of these, I really followed the pattern directions, just really carefully. And I thought, I don't have to do that. It took me a while. So the other thing that's going to happen is they want you to put your zipper in and then trim out for the bottom. This makes your square bottoms. Well, there's no sense in having to fold it twice and fight your zipper because it's up here making this kind of a bump up here. So you might as well just go ahead and trim out this bottom section while you've got it folded in half and you're trimming these corners. This one is a little different. You've got your 1/4 inch seam allowance, but this is actually just a 1 inch square. So you only measure over here 1 inch to this direction. So when I do, what's that?
1/4.
Yeah, this one up here is 1 1/4 and 1 1/4. This one down here will be 1 1/4 in because you've got to allow for that seam allowance. And then you have 1 inch to come across here. So here's what it looks like when it's folded out. So then you have that part done. The zipper is really quite easy. It calls for a 12-inch or a 14-inch zipper. 14-inch. You can use, if you're stuck and you don't want to buy a zipper, you can get by with a 9-inch zipper, but it is tight, a little awkward. But that's what's in here is a 9-inch zipper. But you can't go any smaller than that on this bag. The 14-inch works really good. So you don't even need to worry where you place it on here, just so that it's somewhere in the center so you've got room work. Stitch your zipper down one time with the zipper facing down. Then you're gonna flip it and you'll do a top stitching along here. But before you do your top stitching, the one thing I found for me that's easiest is I fold this edge up and I'm looking underneath here and on top of here to make sure these seams match. Because a lot of times I had to unpick it several of them because I would sew my first stitch and I'd get that down and then I'd line all this up and I'd pin it in place and I'd stitch it and somehow it would stretch out. And it would be just enough off that it drove me bananas. So then I was picking it out. So be sure that you match up where all of those little junctions are, those seams are, so that when you sew it, they all match. So I go like this and then I pin that really good. And I've even basted it first to make sure that they're gonna be across from each other. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that they all. So the yellow is there, the fabric is all across from each other. So then the only thing you have to do after that is to open this up and do the top stitching. So you're all in place. Your zipper's held down. That's what I've done with this one. Oops. So you probably can't really see it, but you can see it on these where there's the top stitching hold the zipper down. And make sure that you're in enough that it holds onto your tape on the inside the whole way. So place that close enough that you get your zipper down. Now the hardest part. Then I have fought with this over and over. I don't really have a really good solution. The hardest thing I have found is these little zipper tabs. And when it sits there to cut them, your pieces 2.5 inches, then fold them there. Just cut it 2.5 by 6, 6.25, because then you can just cut them out. And it just is so much faster, easier. But then make sure that your zipper is like halfway down at least, so you can open your bag later. Then the other thing I'll do is I'll zigzag across the top of the zipper to hold those in position. So is that making sense? So it just holds it in there. Then I can stitch across there and hold that in place. But then I've got this little tab that I fight with. And I need to line that up so that it goes either right in the center. This one's almost going in the center, or it's just a little bit, most of them are a little bit on the edge. I want the edge of the fabric on the other, and then I'll base that in and make sure it's in place before I stitch it. Then I stitch it with a shorter stitch length. The other thing, and I don't know what these are on here for, but these guys were saying, well, maybe to put a belt on, or what's a handle for a charm or something. Anyway, I thought, what is that pulled out? But anyway, it's on there and it's cute. So, oh, I thought it was okay. So then, after you've got your zipper and your zipper tab, these little tabs on the end all stitched on, then you're going to sew your side seam. So back stitch it, sew it, back stitch it. It's a 1/4 inch seam. Then after that is done, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to, although not with these sewn up yet. Then to do this, all it is it's just folded together halfway in between. And I usually press my seam allowances open. Well, I don't really press it. I'm lazy. But I hold them open and then sew across that. Back stitch, sew across, and back stitch. And that makes your little corner. So easy, right?
You zigzag that the raw part.
And then I zigzag across that raw part. That easy enough, right? They're actually really fun. So I'll tell you about so I got kind of crazy and bought some other patterns so I could try things. This is the 2.5 inch squares.
That's cute.
That are just cut in half. Well, you do a strip and then cut the strip in half and strip. And this is the pattern. It's called a Sweet Jane. I have found with a lot of these patterns that are these that a person has just written up. Sometimes I have a hard time figuring out what their meaning, their terminology. And this one was a little harder. I wrote a note that the piecing is easy. That is the instructions are hard to follow, and there's no quilting instructions on it. So you've got to, if you want to quilt on it, then you've got to figure out what you're doing there. So that's what I have on that. But it's really a cute thing. But I have figuring out what on earth is going to happen with this zipper, because this bag is lined. How in the world is that going to work? It did. I'm not sure how it did. I'm trying to figure it out either.
What's the point of figure out when the bag is closed on the
You know what? That's just what it shows in the picture. So
it's hard to
yeah.
well
Well,
kind of to hold on to.
go and it helps it open out more. So if I go like this and I open it, then it opens out more. But
There's a tutorial that Lori has on one on exactly like that.
like
And
this.
it has a tutorial.
Yeah, you know what I found? Okay, when I was first asked to do this bags, I mean, very few. So then I had to start looking for, exploring it. Oh my gosh, there's bag patterns everywhere. There's YouTubes and I've been watching those. Free patterns. I mean, there's tons of bag patterns. It's endless. I had no idea. So anyway, yes.
I've used several of those. My sister and I did them together, and they were so difficult to read. So my sister
Yeah.
wrote her a letter and said, we used to sew them on, but we had a difficult time with a couple of your patterns. And she said, well, I've had testers out there. Nobody else has had a problem.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear you.
I had a hard time.
Yeah.
I did not understand how that zipper was gonna work with those instructions, but it did. This pattern is another little, just a little tiny pattern. These tacks, I go for these little things, I guess. Because these two. And this one, I did it twice. And it's really easy, except this. Okay, it has a little handle here, so you can hang on to it or put it on something. And all of this part is really easy. Putting this on was really hard. This one I used the batting. Where's that little sample I showed you? So it's a little too heavy. It felt good here, but when I went to fold in these edges, they're folded in. And then I've got to put this top piece on, and it was all interfaced. And this piece is actually cut 4 by whatever, because you fold it in half, so then it's 2, then you put it on, then you fold it over again. On this green alone, there's 8 layers of fabric, plus interface. Plus, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of fabric on the side, plus the interface. So add that up, and you have got a thick layer. And it's so thick that my presser foot would not, the handle just went flop, flop, flop because it was held up so high. I managed to do it, but it was and it's not too neat. It doesn't look too good. So then I did it the second time. I thought, well, I'll put in a really thin interface. More thin, I mean, it calls for a thin interfacing, but I put in a really thin one. The same problem with this, how thick those are. I don't know. You want to come up afterwards or you want me to pass it around? So same problem. My presser foot would not go, just would, it's down, but it didn't do any good. It might as well have been up. So that was my problem with that.
What's the name of that pattern?
It is Susie's sack.
Oh, okay.
I'll leave them up here so you can look at them. But it's really cute. My little granddaughter think it's fabulous. Little straps that hold them. Yes. Put it on your wrist or attach it to another bag or whatever. Oh, I was going to tell you, I forgot. I can back up a minute. Zippers. Price of zippers. Price the zipper? Holy cow. $3.50 for at Joann's for a zipper that's either the 12 or the 14-inch zipper. Well, that's a lot to pay, so wait till they have a sale or a coupon or something. The other place you can get zippers is at Walmart. Their selection is so bad that you can't hardly find anything. And they're $1.77 for the same length. I know at Daydreams, she has some zippers, but they're quite long, but they're like $1.20. So look around and
I found Etsy zippers on Etsy for suppliers.
yeah,
More affordable than going to.
yeah, and Homeso has zippers for, yeah. So yeah, you need to look for some way to cover that. Yeah.
Wall walk, WAWA.
Like
They have a
20
little.
and they're great. So
I get the number.
It was.
The dress and skirt zipper is the one I get. And size number 3 or number 5. And they're going up in price. There's a simple dress zipper.
Yeah.
But sometimes they go on sale, buy one free. Things like $5. Five plethora.
I know when you're buying it, that's what you want. That's why it's
Small,
only
small block. And it's written on everyone, friend.
So, okay, so I decided to get smaller, which was insanity. So I saw there's patterns. Oh. Well, and that's what it says on there. This is good for like American Girl dolls. It's her little purse. So I had to do that, but it was a challenge. It says to cut your zipper, I think, I can't remember, like 4 inches or 4.5. And I think if I did it again, I would shorten it up maybe another 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, because I'll tell you what, that was nice. Nice and fun. But it's a cute little zipper, or a cute little bag, and it is fine. But yeah, it's just really cute. And it was, when I got it done, I thought, oh, this is so nice. So a ton of fun with it. This is a really easy bag to do, but I spent days laying out the fabric, and deciding where stuff should go. But it's the improv bag, Quilt as you go, have really super simple. I mean, you could draw your own pattern bag, just easy enough if you didn't want to buy a pattern. But it's the improv bag. It's a Quilt as you go. So it's this one is 2 sizes on here. This is the small size, but I made it the depth of the large size because it just looked too shallow to me. So that's the only difference that I really did. So, and then it doesn't show any pocket or anything on the inside, but I have put, I don't know if you can see, probably not, you'll have to come up and look. Anyway, I have a pocket with a zipper, because I thought, well, a little bit of change or dash if you wanted in there, and then a bigger pocket, and then I put on if you need the keys put on, but it doesn't show all that on the pattern. You just have to play with that and do it. So, but yeah, it was really fun. But they don't show you like dimensions to cut out your fabric. Just a picture, kind of placing it. So you
That's improv.
yes, it's improv. You're just exactly. The binding is the last thing. So I did the outside, did the inside, and then slipped it together, and then they're put together with the binding.
Is that
So-
bias?
It's on the bias. It's just fabric. It's this fabric here, just cut on bias. So and then I put buttons and rip rack and some things on it. So
remind me to get
it was really fun. Now to do another one because I thought this was so fun. The colors.
No.
Then this last one, I debated whether to bring this or not. I made this. And there's not a pattern for it, but these are cut, I think it's 7 inches. So what it is it's a Japanese rice bag. And I don't know how many years ago, centuries or whatever, the Japanese people would pay taxes with rice. They'd fill these bags with rice, and they'd take it in, and that's how they paid their tax, was the rice bag. So that's where this came from, this idea. The only thing that you have to remember if you're making one is you cut your bottom piece, then your side pieces need to be that wide, the same. So if this is 7 by 7, I cut these 7 by 7. I could cut them 7 by 9, 7 by 12. I can make it as tall as I want, but I've got to have those measurements to match the bottom. When you, and this is a remnant that was already pieced, so I did not do any piecing. All I did was decide, so this was already pieced. Just cut these out. So here's where my seam is on the side.
So you can actually use old quilts.
Yeah, you could use whatever you wanted. It's a little floppy. It's not, it doesn't have any line or any interfacing or anything in it. It's lined. But the really fun thing to do is to decorate it. That's what people make these now, you know, I mean, they used to not decorate them when they were using them for a regular rice bag. But it was just really fun to go through and find different things. I've looked at secondhand shops, jewelry clearance, my mother's old jewelry box that I inherited, and just finding fun things to put on it. I've seen where they've had a theme, like an ocean theme, where they'll put some water stuff on it, and what palm tree and different things, so you can do themes with it. So then the tabs, if I did this again, I would probably put 6 tabs to 8 tabs on it instead of the 4. This was a pattern that was online because I feel like it would probably close a little nicer. You know, when I close this, it's kind of squared up and it has these little pokey things out here, which is not bad. It's okay, but I think I'd like it to add a few more little holders for the strap. But to do the strap, I think I'm just about taking up all my time. You can see it looks like it has trim on the outside. So all you do is put your piece of fabric that you want on the outside, and then the fabric that goes on the inside, cut it 1 inch bigger, and then have that 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side, and it folds around a 1/4 inch. And then you have a really easy decorated little tab. So anyway, did everybody get a pattern? Okay. So, all right, I think I run out of stuff to talk about.
Tomorrow, but Lord, okay?